everyone, so this is my review on The Flash Season 3, Episode 5, called Monster. And basically what this episode is about is that Caitlin goes to her mother to try and help figure out how to control her new metahuman abilities that are developing. And while that's going on, Barry tries to convince Julian to let him join him on a case about a monster that's attacking Central City. And this was a really great and interesting episode that took a lot of different ways with the story plot that kind of surprised me and made it really kind of exciting to see that they decided to go a little bit of a different route, kind of, than what I was fully expecting them to do. And I really enjoyed the first moments of this episode where Barry first runs into the monster. And Cisco's there saying, oh, describe this metahuman to me and stuff. And all Barry can say is basically that it's a monster, because that's all it really was. And I enjoyed it because it really kind of harkened back in my mind to the comics and had this very sort of Flash kind of campy kind of feel to it in that moment. And that I really enjoyed, that it still had that kind of comic feel to it without it necessarily being directly from the comics. All the scenes with Joe and Iris trying to convince Joe that it's okay for him to go out and date kind of felt really kind of sort of pointless in my mind, and it really kind of felt like it was this major story plot that they were trying to fit into this episode but just ran out of moments to do it, because it felt so unnecessary to all the other stuff that was going on in this episode. And with that, all the scenes with Joe or Iris kind of felt like they were put in there to just have Joe and Iris in this episode, but they weren't necessarily needed in that scene. They were just kind of there for an unknown reason, and that annoyed me a little bit, but not enough for it to be a major problem. It was just kind of why are they there? I really enjoy the new Wells because he is so kind of different from all the other Wells, but he still has this kind of creepy nature to him that makes me kind of question what his true goals are and whether or not he might have some bad intentions that he wants to do in the future. And with that, I kind of can't wait to see what's going to happen more with this new Wells as more stuff comes out about him. And then all the scenes with Julian in this episode were really great, that they kind of made this episode somewhat about him and getting to know him and what he's like and all that, which I kind of enjoy that they decided to do it, and the way they decided to go with that idea I enjoy for the fact that it was really well organized, with them sort of slowly coming out with the truth and having this sort of building bond between Julian and Barry, and not just have it be all of a sudden they trust each other. You kind of got to see that little bit of a build in this episode, and hopefully it will continue on in the episodes to come. I just really hope that it doesn't come to the point where Julian finds out that Barry's the Flash like everyone else seems to find out about. Then the twist ending of who the actual villain was in this episode I didn't really care for, because it wasn't who I was hoping it would be or anything like that. But it also kind of helped to go and show and remind everyone that just because there are metahumans in Central City doesn't mean that every bad guy is going to be a metahuman or every metahuman's a bad guy. It kind of did that, which I enjoy for the fact of that, but still, I just didn't care who this actual villain turned out to be. And then all the scenes with Caitlin in this episode I really enjoyed, because you gotta see parts of her past and really kind of get to know her more than you have in these past few seasons. And see sort of a different side of her, and also kind of see this development of Killer Frost inside of her, which I really loved for the fact of what they showed at the end of this episode, which really kind of harkens back to the comics and the development of Killer Frost, where it's the more and more she uses her abilities, the colder her temperature gets, and then because of that, eventually she's gonna start to freeze to death inside of herself, and she has to deal with that. I really enjoy that they're sticking to that sort of point of herself in the comics. And I do have to say, overall, I really enjoyed this episode, and I cannot wait for more. So, yeah, that's my review of The Flash, Season 3, Episode 5, called Monster. So, yeah. Bye!